Hi, I'm Christopher
Hi,
Sapp.
everybody. This is Bob
Hey guys,
Bergen.
this is Stephanie Shea.
Hey, I'm Veronica Taylor.
Hey, everybody. This is Billy
Hey
West.
guys, I'm Ryan Colt Levy.
Hi, this is Kyle
Hi,
Aber.
this is Kira Buckley.
Hi, I'm Jameson Price.
Hi, I'm Sean Chiplock.
You are listening to Two Dads.
You're listening to the
Two Dads.
Two dads.
Two dads.
Two dads.
Two dads.
Two dads.
Two dads
And a podcast.
A couple of dads on a podcast.
Yes, I feel powerful.
What's up, guys? It's another
Welcome
episode.
to, what's the name of our show?
You know,
again?
I keep forgetting. We really should write this down somewhere.
So we're having a blast here at 2DAP headquarters, which is not a place because we're both in two separate locations. But I mean, it's like
headquarters.
It's like the president, vice president. If we're together all the time and you know something happens,
it poses too much of a security risk.
There you go. So today we are talking about fighter games. So we kind of, the obvious, we're not getting crazy wild with it. I mean, we're doing obvious like fighter style beat 'em up sort of game. No, not beat 'em up sort of games.
No, beat 'em ups are different.
That one will be the next one.
That's a different podcast.
Mine's all Street of Rage.
Streets of Rage
1 through 5. Yeah.
There's not a 5. There's only 4 out. So
I know
far.
there's only 4. Whose turn is it to go first?
I think it's my turn to go first. So this week, with my top 5 fighting games, I had to start off with one that honestly is widely regarded as one of the better fighting games still to date, in especially the Street Fighter games, and it's Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I know it's a long name. It's not just Street Fighter 2. It's not Super Street Fighter. It is the Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Well, we're starting off in similar territory because that's the same one I put down as my number 2. I'll tell you.
You mean
what,
number 5?
5. Where?
Well, number 2, you're skipping ahead into the list.
That's the same one. Street Fighter 2. My brain is not like
flipping, flopping. Man, it's this game.
It's the first one I ever played way back on. I played it on the Super Nintendo.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we played it together on the Super Nintendo. I'm pretty positive.
Quite often. So
this game
one, this was really 1994.
Yeah, 94, and this one really stepped up and kind of changed the dynamic that we knew of Street Fighter and fighting games in general. It introduced your super combos, you had your air combos, you had speed settings. They introduced a brand new character, Akuma. This was his first game, and he's been a staple in the series since.
Yeah, no, this is the first time I felt like they brought the arcade to my home, like for sure. That's when I felt like, okay, this isn't like a bunch of Tetris or like asteroids. This is a fighting game that I love to play at the arcade, and it's in my living room right now.
I even remember playing this almost arcade-like. I would claw the controller and play with the buttons like it was a flat surface instead of with my thumb.
The thing I loved about this game, and I think the reason why it still stands up, is it is not overly complicated. It's easy to use for anybody, but also when you get advanced at it and really good at it, nobody can touch you. It's so fun with those special moves that they have for everybody. What's his name with the claws?
Vega
was my favorite. Yeah, Vega with the cage and climbing up the cage and shit like that.
The art was great. The gameplay was so smooth in this version.
No, definitely. It felt a lot less clunky, even though you're working 64-bit at this point. It's still some clunkiness to it, but for the time it was really cool. Obviously it had to be up there. I mean, total nostalgia, but it's set fighter games on a course that it's obvious it's gonna be up there. It's probably gonna be on anybody's top 5.
Well, I guess I move on to my number 4, since we had an in-depth conversation of our same number 5, and my number 4 is one that blended those Capcom characters. We've got some of the Street Fighter guys, but we've got some of the other guys in there too. Maybe a few Marvel characters, maybe.
Oh yeah.
Maybe my number 4 is Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Nice, love it. That's a classic, man.
Oh man, I remember playing this. I still have an Xbox copy of this game. I could never get rid of it. I loved it.
Yeah, it's tough.
And honestly, I loved the elements of bringing Marvel characters. You have these comic book juggernauts, just these crazy popular comic book characters fighting characters like Mega Man and Ryu and Jill Valentine from the Resident Evil series.
You know, they didn't just pull characters that were the most popular at the time, you know, because I mean, they had War Machine. How many people knew who War Machine was before Marvel vs. Capcom? Unless you read the comic books.
Oh, yeah.
And
like
they were a fan of Iron Man.
They had Silver Samurai and like Shuma Gorath. And, you know, of course, Thanos was in there, which this was well before, you know, he became this hugely popular character from the films. They had my boy Gambit, our boy Gambit, I should say, because I know he's one of your guys. We had these off the wall kind of characters you wouldn't think of from Marvel, and characters you wouldn't have any idea who they were. Honestly, half of the Capcom people, I had no idea who they were, but it introduced me to their games in this fighting game, and I absolutely loved it.
Going into my number 4, I picked Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, and honestly, it's because it's one of the few fighting games that through the generation, when they got to Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, it took the best parts of the first 3. And you hardly get that from a fighting game because they're constantly trying to change things to keep things fresh. But inevitably, they drop something people loved or something people didn't like as much.
The Ninja Storm games I thoroughly enjoyed. The problem I had with them, at least for the first couple, and I like that you picked 4 because it had this problem, but not as bad, where it's literally a 2-button game. 1 through 3, it's a 2-button game. You literally do every move, every combo just by mashing one button and occasionally pushing the other one to jump.
But that's great. That's why I love it.
You know, they're very easy to play, but at the same time, it got boring after a little while. So 4 did kind of change that.
Part of the reason it's further back on my list, but you know, it's great, especially if you're a Naruto fan. It helps fill in some of these gaps for you in the storytelling. It helps show you different perspectives.
If you play 1 through 4, you get the entire Naruto series in video game form. The entire thing.
And some people complain about it, but I'm like, you're buying this game because it says Naruto Shippuden.
Look,
the thing that's
the kind of stuff that I want in a story-based fighting game.
Yeah, that's what I want.
I don't want some side story that has nothing to do with the characters that I know of.
I want this guy's fighting game. I'm wearing a Yu Yu Hakusho shirt, by the way. So the other great thing is that they had DLC on this one. You got the beginnings of Boruto with this game.
Yeah, they introduced, brought you into the next generation, which was really cool.
Which is great because if you're watching the anime, if you're caught up on the anime, it's fantastic. Boruto also learned from a lot of the mistakes of Naruto and Shippuden. Just like this game learned from its mistakes, and it just doesn't happen that often. In the first Naruto Shippuden, I don't have to say the whole title. I was about to say it again. The first,
you could just say Ultimate Ninja Storm. Yeah, like
the first Ninja Storm. They had the wall running, but when you wall ran, it forced both players to do it. And then in 4, they brought it back, but they let you separate it. So like one person can wall run while the other person doesn't. And there was things like that. They just improved on it. And they kept the core and just added to it. And
that's what I was talking about, where it's not just a 2-button fighting game anymore. There are different things you can do. There are combos you can kind of string together, and you have these elements like the wall running, and you have the what's it called? The replacement jutsu.
So I like it. It functions. It works. It's good. They keep improving it. I hope they keep it on through Boruto and make it even better. And I think more games should do that. Build upon what people already like. And you can't say like, oh, I didn't know. No, people tell you constantly what they like and dislike about things, especially on the fucking internet.
Moving on to my number 3. My number 3, we're taking us back to the mid-90s again, going back to my Super Nintendo, because that's what I played most of my fighting games on. And we're going with the original Killer Instinct. I haven't heard that one in a while. Game. I loved the characters, and there weren't very many characters. There were only like 10 characters in the original. You had... I
don't hate that, you know? I don't hate that, especially like for games. I mean, look, if I'm playing a Naruto or a, Marvel, or I want a bunch of characters. I just do. But
what I really liked about this and having a small cast of characters is they were all thoroughly unique.
Right,
and
right.
That's what was really great about it. You know, you had your Black Orchid and Chief Thunder and Cinder and Fulgore, and you have these characters who are vastly different in how they look and how they control and play. And I loved that. Of course, you had some cliche style characters. You had TJ Combo, who's your heavyweight boxer, and Jago, who is just kind of your, I don't even know how to describe him. But you have your ice kind of character with Glacius, but they were so different than what you were expecting from something like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. You could play as a Velociraptor, Riptor, the Velociraptor. I don't know about you, but beating up literally the Human Torch as a dinosaur, pretty fun for me.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Jurassic Park and Velociraptor seemed pretty cool at the time, so I 100% agree with that.
My big character with this one was Cinder. I was crazy good with Cinder, and you know, his story was he was an escaped convict and he had a chemical test and he, you know, body was composed of flame because of it.
He like had a chemical test in his possession, or he was tested on.
He was tested on a failed chemical test. Yeah,
and because you just said he had a chemical test. Which is, I did. He sounds like a fucking nerd. He's just sitting there with beakers and
you know what? He's his own Bunsen burner. All right.
Yeah.
But you could change the color of the outfits, which honestly it seems so simple nowadays, but that was fantastic.
Right,
you know, changing Cinder from the orange and red fire to like blue or green was just fun. And I was just really good with Cinder. He had this super combo that you could get off, and it was like a multi-100 hit combo that would just instantly finish your opponent if you could get them into it. And there were these crazy things like that, and I loved it.
Kind of like Captain Falcon. Like you got to get them into the combo.
Oh yeah.
But once you do, fucking ends things real fast.
But yeah, and Killer Instinct, it went on to have an arcade Killer Instinct 2. The N64, it was ported over as Killer Instinct Gold, which introduced a few new things. And then they rebooted it for the Xbox One with an all new characters. They even brought Rash from Battletoads as a playable character, which is nice. Freaking great. I loved it.
Loved it. So my number 3 is I'm jumping back. I'm going to Marvel versus Capcom 2. That's my number 3. And
I had a feeling this was on your list.
Could have easily chosen any of the Marvel versus Capcom games past 2 because they were all really fucking good. But it all came down to characters, and 2 had the most characters, and a lot of the characters I liked.
Oh,
like
yeah.
You mentioned a lot of them, but they had Venom, that
yeah,
was awesome.
Venom and Spider-Man.
Red, and Juggernaut, Magneto. They
even had the Sentinel.
The Sentinel, yeah, you could play as the Sentinel, and if you were watching the cartoons in the 90s, the one character I love better out of, I think it was 3, was they had Deadpool in it. So
yeah, but one character doesn't make a whole game, you know?
No, it doesn't. No, it just doesn't. And the theme music for it was fucking awesome. And out the time, like switching characters mid-fight, it was not very common on a console, and I fucking loved it.
Yeah, being able to switch them out and chain combos together. And this was one where they brought it out on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, and you could play online and local multiplayer. So not only could you sit on the couch playing with your buddies, but you could
sit on the couch playing with your buddies.
Yeah. But not have to be in the same house.
On a different couch. Yeah. No, it was fantastic. It was just cool, man. Because I've fallen asleep playing this game. I played it so much, especially when they did the re-releases, and when 3 and 4 came out, I was playing those two. And I would play it so fucking much I'd fall asleep with the controller on my lap and wake up to the theme song playing in the background.
Wake up to the game over music.
This game
'Cause
was
you fell
fucking
asleep in a
cool,
fight.
man.
Yeah, it was a fantastic game. But yeah, the roster of characters on the later games wasn't as large. They didn't they had some really cool characters, but none of them I cared for as much.
I'm waiting for them to create something new. I mean, it's about time. But I view Disney as looking at what they have and thinking to themselves, we could, you know. And this is back at the time, like this really blew up the crossover sort of game, you know. And now, like, and it seemed obvious. Like, why aren't more people doing like crossovers with fighting games?
I mean, Capcom did a few.
Good times. So, what did you have for your number 4?
You mean number
See what I did
2?
there? See what I did there? No, it was supposed to be 5 last time, didn't? Man, I fucked it up again.
Yeah,
so
you
what
did.
did you have?
What did I have for my number 5?
So what did you have for your number 2? Got it right this time.
You know, I'm something about the 90s fighting games, man. There's something about the 90s fighting games
they
that just
suckered you in.
different.
They suckered you in.
Did you get what
That's
I
funny,
got there?
'cause it was
They hit
fighting.
different, yeah.
Because I was, yeah, yes.
My number 2 is Bloody Roar. If I had to pick a specific game out of the series, it would probably be Primal Fury because I played that one the most. That one came out in 2002 on the GameCube, and I just
said you were
played
taking
the
us
hell.
back to the 90s.
I did, because the ones that I'm looking the most at is Bloody Roar 1 and 2, which came out in 97 and 98 respectively. Well, 99
like the one
for
from
the console.
2002.
That's the one I played the most. That's the one I played the
okay.
most.
I never
But-
played the games.
Oh
so,
my god, Bloody
teach me
Roar
about 'em.
is so
Tell me about
good.
'em.
Okay. So the general concept is it's a fighting game, and it kind of has a feeling almost like Tekken.
You don't say. You picked a fighting game for our fighting game.
I did. Mind blower. So it has almost the later games. I can't remember if the first one did or not, but I know a couple of the later games had almost like a 3-dimensional arena fighter. Think of like fighting in a boxing ring kind of deal. Except instead of just being a, martial arts fighting game, you had the ability to transform into what they called a zoanthrope, which is a half animal, half human. And think almost like
an Animorphs.
Well, think more of like turning into a werewolf, except it wasn't limited to wolves. So you had characters
Like Animorphs. I'm just making 90s references here.
Look, they turned straight into the animals.
Fair enough.
It is very different than that. These games were so much fun to play, and mostly because of the transforming from the human into your animal form. You got stronger, you got faster, you got these new combos and stuff. And they had so many different ones. For example, in 2, which is widely regarded as one of the better of the Bloody Roar games, you had a mole, you had the cat, you had an insect, leopard, bat, chameleon, tiger, wolf, rabbit, and lion, all as playable zoanthropes. Again, that's the term used because, it's not lycanthropy, it's not werewolves. So you gotta have your own name. Alice the Rabbit
like
was my
zoo,
jam,
but with
lycanthrope. But
Yeah.
you got it.
zoo.
You got it.
Yeah.
You're following along.
So
I'm proud
the
of you.
mole one seems kind of stupid.
He was actually really good. He was actually a really good character.
I mean, I see it. I see him. He looks cool. But it sounds like it would be dumb. Like I'm gonna
And that's
what
the
am I gonna
thing.
try? I'm gonna turn into a mole.
Well, that's the thing that kind of flipped this on the head. You don't think
And
of
then
these.
the chameleon sounds like it would be a cool concept, but they made him look like big and bulky. Like what's he gonna blend in with?
He was actually really. They were all really cool if you knew how to use them. I liked Alice because she was really fast and she was a rabbit, and I was, a young boy. She was cute. All right,
Yeah,
fight me.
I feel you. Yeah.
But so one cool thing I wanted to call
Look at me. That explains it all.
One fun thing that I wanted to bring attention to as well, and this wasn't a reason I chose Bloody Roar, but back in 2020, in March of 2020, some voice actors got together and decided to do a redub for Bloody Roar 2 because one of them knew how to get into the code and they could change some of the files and stuff. So they were familiar with that. And they got a bunch of voice actors to just kind of dedicate their time between, coworkers and friends and redubbed all of the characters' voices and lines for Bloody Roar 2.
Be fair, there wasn't much else to do in 2020.
Exactly. And it was finished. They took about a little less than a year. In February of 2021, they finished it. And some of the people that we've interviewed actually lent their voices to this. Kira Buckland and Morgan Berry. They lent their voices to this redub. And it is just the coolest thing of taking this game from, 1999 and giving it fresh life in 2021. Go check that out. You can just search Bloody Roar 2 redub and you can find it. Everybody who was part of that is incredibly talented and it's pretty awesome.
Nice. Okay. Well, so my number 2, I know you're wondering which Dragon Ball Z game is he going to pick? And it's not for a lack of games. Dragon Ball FighterZ is pretty fucking good.
It is pretty good. It's essentially Marvel versus Capcom Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, and I just started playing it. I love it. You got Tenkaichi, you got Budokai, you got Budokai Tenkaichi, which, by the way, okay, so it's Budokai Tenkaichi 3 is the one I chose as my favorite.
As you should have.
Ultimate party Dragon Ball Z fighter game.
So here's the thing. I have that pulled up in a separate window because I just narrowly took it off of my list.
Because it's fantastic, though. It is a fantastic game. And I love a lot of the other games they have. But when it comes to one, just the breadth of characters they have for this game.
Oh, yeah. They took from everything. Everything they possibly could have that was Akira Toriyama, they threw into this game. Now, personally, I played 2 more, and I actually remember playing 2 on a modded PlayStation, and it was a Japanese version. We had no idea what the characters' names were, and this was before they announced some of the characters, so we're just like, who the fuck is this pink dude? It was kind of ridiculous. Like I said, they took so many characters, not just from Dragon Ball, but from Akira Toriyama's original characters through some of the crossovers from like Dr. Slump.
Yeah, no.
You had a rail in here, which was crazy.
What you have over 100 characters? It feels like. I know it was well over 80 something.
Well, and they took from all the movies, even if they were canon or not. They took from Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball.
Yeah, you had Omega Shenron in there, looking cool as fuck.
You had Baby Vegeta, which was
awesome blasts
freaking awesome
and stuff. You had the awesome power ups and the Super Saiyan form shit.
Oh yeah, and being really able to like transform if you played a character that could, and getting those animations was awesome.
But as far as the gameplay was simple enough for people who were casual gamers, but intricate enough to beat the shit out of people who were casual gamers. And it was just the combination of the 3D movements, the flying, the on the ground, literally being able to be anybody. I mean, weren't you able to be the turtle? You could
I don't remember the turtle, but I do remember a lot of the characters. You had Janemba from GT, Videl,
Pan.
Pan was a kid, just as a little kid, and you could still be.
You could beat the shit out of a little kid. Yeah, you could.
You could be Emperor Pilaf.
I know, it was crazy, and I loved it. They went so wild with it, and I think that's why I appreciate it. So, number one.
I have a number one.
Yeah,
but my number one is a number 3. If that gets a little confusing. Yeah. My number 1 is still to date, again, mid-90s. There's something about these 90s fighting games, man. And it is still probably one of my favorite fighting games. It is by far still my favorite of the series for
Yeah.
sure. It's Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3.
Oh, nice.
I
I'm shocked though.
loved Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3.
I figured you'd go Smash Bros.
Look, I didn't play enough
figured you
Smash
would.
Brothers, and I wasn't ever really that good at Smash Brothers. So it would just, my number one is Pokemon Snap.
That's what I was gonna say.
No, I love this game and everything
Yeah.
about it. I played it on the SNES. I also played it on a couple of the other, Sega Genesis, and they released it for Xbox Live.
Really good on the computer.
Oh my goodness.
The Mortal Kombat games were.
This game, especially, the roster was huge when it came to Mortal Kombat games at the time.
Oh, for sure.
It was huge.
It was
They
crazy.
had new characters, and the Super Nintendo, you had a few different like cheat codes you could kind of put in, the combat codes that you could unlock characters, and you could change some of the settings. And man,
I miss them days.
It was
I miss them days.
fantastic. This was when they introduced the brutalities where you just beat somebody up until they explode.
You know what?
As your finisher.
I don't mean to get off topic, but you're talking about cheat codes, and this game back here, the new remakes of Tony Hawk 1 and 2, they put cheat codes in there.
Oh, they kept the old cheat codes? Yeah.
Like they're like this. They made it a part of the game. Like this is we're going back. Games don't do that enough, I think.
I love it.
But no, Mortal Kombat, man. I just downloaded and started playing 11 a couple of days ago.
This series is never going to go away.
No, it's fantastic. And the new movie was. I loved it. I don't care what the hate was about it.
I still need to watch it. Actually, I'm
I'm
guilty of having not watched it yet.
Man, it was perfect for what it was supposed to be. Like people complained about it. I'm like, but it's a Mortal Kombat movie. What are you expecting? I love it. Everything they've done with the game. The only reason it's not on my top 5 is because I realized I loved it more when I was a kid than I am now at the age I'm at.
With the Ultimate Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, and all the Mortal Kombat games, because as a kid, when you're playing it, it's like, oh, this is so cool. I'm not supposed to be playing this shit.
Huge roster of characters. I mean, to be fair,
and
my parents bought it for us, so.
Yeah, well.
Look, I absolutely loved this one. I loved the fact that they added new characters. They made playable characters who weren't playable in the arcade version and the Super NES version.
Right.
So you had like Rain and Noob Saibot were playable, and then you had Melina and Ermac and the classic Sub-Zero and newer Sub-Zero and all these crazy things. And, some of them had like no fatalities or friendships in the SNES version, but you could do brutalities and babalities and change them into babies, which was honestly my favorite thing to do because it was just so ridiculous. I could go on and on about intricate details, what I loved about this game. One of the biggest things were the codes that you could put in, and you could change different elements of the game. You could do single button fatalities as a kid. That was amazing because you couldn't remember every button combo for every fatality for every character.
Hell no. No, you got 4 or 5 to start before you even start unlocking shit.
Oh yeah. And they had secret characters in there, which was awesome. Motaro, Shao Kahn, and Human Smoke were like secret characters that you could unlock. It was fantastic. Classic
sure.
Sub-Zero was my dude though. He's who I played as 99%.
Sub-Zero is
him and
one
Reptile.
of the coolest.
Him and Reptile.
Right. Scorpion was badass always.
And actually with this one, they brought Scorpion back. Scorpion wasn't in regular Mortal Kombat 3, so they had to bring him back. So this truly was like the ultimate Mortal Kombat for a very long time.
11's really cool. It seems like there's a ton to do in 11 right now. It's one of the best modern Mortal Kombat games they put out in a while.
Oh yeah, I agree with you on that for sure.
But yeah, it's just back then I loved the shit out of it. And now I play it and I'm like, this is cool, but I can't get good at it.
Dude, the older fighting games are so much harder now. I have
to. Well, you know what? And that brings me to my number 1, which is Super Smash Brothers.
Which one?
You know what? I really love what they're doing with Ultimate, but I'd have to probably between that and Melee. I don't know.
That's fair. That's fair.
The characters coming out right now
well, they're all out. They're all out. It's done.
Oh, they're done with
They're
it now
done.
after
Yep.
Sora?
They are done.
Oh, I'm going to have to go with Melee because of the all-around game.
The gameplay for Melee was fantastic.
The gameplay as a fighter. And honestly, I what games replicated anything close to that? I mean, the team aspect, the multiple player aspect is something that seems so fucking simple. And yet
Oh yeah.
hasn't been emulated.
Having more than two people fighting and brawling at once, that was so unique and so much fun, and having all these crossover characters that you would never have believed, especially with Ultimate, having characters from Square Enix games and Minecraft and, you know, it's kind of mind-blowing having such a collaboration of video games. It's fantastic.
It's so stupid simple. It seems obvious. And you know, some of the Shonen Jump games have tried similar sort of battle arena styles.
Yeah, Jump Force was a failure.
It was
again,
it's a fantastic concept, but didn't work. And that's the reason they stopped support of it. I'm not going to go on and on about Smash Brothers because we've done many a time.
We've gone on and on about it.
But so some of the ones that I loved that didn't make the list, Dead or Alive. I would have to say Dead or Alive 3 was my favorite.
I know why you like those games.
Everybody knows why.
All right, he's just straight up honest about it. I guess.
But as a fighter game, it like cut a lot of the bullshit out. It was more of a 3D arena style for the time.
Yeah.
It was super ahead of its time, especially with the countering.
They
abilities.
were legitimately fun games. I'll give you that.
I loved Soul Calibur, especially 4 was my favorite.
Soul Calibur was super fun.
Pinnacle.
Tekken, of course, you have the Tekken franchise. My favorite being Tekken Tag Tournament.
Tekken Tag Tournament. We played the shit out of that.
You have were you starting to say Pokken Tournament?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that was a legitimately fun game.
Yeah. That was pretty
you
cool.
would not expect a Pokemon fighting game to be
especially
fun
the
like
DX
that.
When they put it out on the Switch and just made him again. It was a game that made improvements on the last one before.
Oh yeah,
instead of Injustice 2 was pretty cool.
Oh, Injustice 1 was great too. Like
Gods Among Us. Yeah,
they were both fantastic games.
And I loved the concept of what did you just say? The Shonen Jump game.
The Jump Force.
Yeah, I love
the concept of it was great. The execution, not so much.
And there was one that came out a little bit before it.
We can go back a little bit.
J-Stars.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I really played that one.
It was more of a battle arena style, localized, sort of like it wasn't as grandiose as Jump Force was trying to be, but it had some of the same failures as Jump Force.
That's fair. You know, we'll throw out a couple more like big series that I know of that I haven't played and I would love to play at some point. But you have the Guilty Gear series, you have Blaze Blue, King of Fighters. That's a classic. If you go back to the old King of Fighters.
Persona 4 was not on yours.
I never played Ultimax. I never played Ultimax. Yeah.
Don't forget about.
I'm not a huge fighting game fan. Virtual Fighter,
Alive, beach volleyball game.
You gonna be okay there? Do you need to go clean up a little bit?
I'm good. Yeah. No. What? So no, if you have a favorite fighter game that we haven't played, if you want to play against us on a fighter game, hit us up.
You might have to buy us the game, and let us know what your favorite fighting game is. Reach out to us, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all at 2dap2020. You can email us, 2dap2020@gmail.com.
Yeah, you can reach out. People have reached out to us on email, and we've exchanged gamer tags. So let's exchange gamer tags. Let's play some games, man, for sure.
Definitely. It'd be a lot of fun.
And as always.
Next time on Two Dads and a Podcast.
Next time on the 2Dap Dizzle.
We're revisiting. We're revisiting our parties of 6 with Generation 6.
Pokemon
Party of 6.
Yeah. Table for Pokemon.
Yes.
Yes.
We are continuing because we love the Pokemon games. We have lots of fun with them. And honestly,
We have a lot of opinions.
Yes. All of them correct.
Yes, I would agree.
All right, guys. As always, thank you so much for listening.
Laters, skaters.